We're live. All right, great. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. So we have Jared Robin, the co-founder of RevGenius. Well, he's someone who doesn't need an intro, but yeah, I'll give him a quick intro and we'll start. So Jared helps revenue pros grow their business through community. So he's the co-founder of RevGenius, a community of revenue-generating sales and marketing professionals brought together to learn, share, support, and grow with each other. So Jared, the stage is yours. It's a pleasure having you on board.
Thank you so much for having me, Gotham. And it's so great to be here. And it's great to be here amongst friends. So many of your other speakers I've gotten to know quite a bit the last year. So I'll keep it simple, everybody. A lot of you might know RevGenius, might know me, some of you might not, but our focus today is on community-led growth. It doesn't matter if you know me or not, but you need to know the impact of community on your business, on your marketing plan, on your, I even have a slide about CAC, but let's dive out into the brass tacks. So I'll explain a little bit, quick overview on us and our community in general, and some things that you could do to enable community-led growth for your software as a service company. So let's jump in. RevGenius, and by the way, everybody, ask questions as you go, ask questions at the end, ask questions whenever it feels like the flow is good. I'll answer them, but I have time at the end as well. So I just want to put it out there. If you don't know RevGenius, here's who we are. We're a community that enables sales, marketing, and RevOps and customer success professionals to grow and collaborate together. Our mission is to educate, empower, and inspire. That's who we are. The takeaway here with our mission and how it can help you is have a mission and a purpose in building your community that benefits your people, your prospects, your ecosystem, right? That's the takeaway with our message, but that's who we are. Now, here's an awesome quote that I could literally use in every single presentation that's bit. You all know HubSpot. HubSpot, awesome company, unicorn, right? Their CTO said, and I'll read it, many companies forgot and they sell to actual people. Humans care about the entire experience, not just marketing or sales or service. Remember that phase we used to say get really good service. We're past that. To really win in the modern age today, you must solve for the humans. Okay, humans. Today, I went on Twitter and I found this quote. If you're focusing on CAC over community, your company may already be dead. A16Z investor, that's Andreessen Horowitz. You may be investing in some of your companies. You may hope they do. If you're focusing on CAC over community, your company might already be dead. Let's unpack that. Customer acquisition cost is important, sure. But if you're optimizing to buy your audience and to drive your funnel based on paid, you're not really connecting with them. It's a different level. You build a community, your CAC could be zero. It could be negative, right? If you're focusing on CAC over community, your company might already be dead. Spectacular. And that sets the pace, right? So what is community-led growth? Community-led growth, go-to-market strategy that relies on supportive community as a driving force for acquisition, expansion, and retention. This is what y'all are here for, right? Community sounds great, but how can we use it to drive the numbers that we're responsible for? Okay, well, you can. And, how can your SaaS leverage community? I broke it down in 3 main ways. Okay, you have these options now. And on each slide, the partnering, the building, and the buying, I'll give you a quick overview. You may already have an idea in your head for what each means, and we'll review that. But I'll also speak to the pros and cons of each. A lot of this depends on what stage you're at, what your goals are, what you already have in place. So you could partner with the community. You could call RevGenius up. You could send an email to Jared. This is not a sales pitch, and say, I want to partner with you. You could build a community yourself, right? That's what Gong's doing now. More power to them, and some others as well. Or you could buy a community. And I grouped it. I'm looking at the bullets now. Partner, buy, and build in that order is probably the quickest to the longest, in terms of time. So if you want to start working with the community right now, partner, reach out to us, dozens of other communities, and say, I want to partner. You can get going in weeks. And we'll review the others. But anyway, so that's how your SaaS can leverage. There's three main ways. So partner. Pick a community or multiple communities to partner with. Straightforward enough. Now, one thing I want to point out. Remember that slide I said, if you're focusing over CAC over community, your company might be dead. Just because you're partnering with a community and you do an event with a community doesn't mean that slide's irrelevant, right? How do you know you might not be using community in the community way? One, if you're still looking at your partnership with a community as a one event, how many MQLs did it drive? Let's look all the way down. I mean, that's super logical, but you're focusing on CAC. You're not focusing on building relationships in the community. It's a longer term thing. MQL, CQL. We heard Nick Bennett say it the other week. We heard Dan, the head of community at Chili Piper, say it a while ago. We've read it in books like The Art of Belonging by David Spinks. Community qualified leads are a real thing. That acronym is only going to increase. And that's important, right? So pick a community or multiple communities to partner with. How do you partner the right way, right? Like I said, maybe the not looking at it like CAC. Well, one, partner with them. Don't just look at it like transactional. Oh, yeah, I worked with RevGenius for one event. It was good. It was bad. It was in between. Well, you could work with anybody for one event, right? Like you could hit up Salesforce for an event and figure out a partnership. You could hit up, you can partner with anybody if you're just looking at it like that way. And that's not a bad thing. You should put that in your mix, I'm sure. But to really partner with the community, you need to do things that build trust. Building trust. And whether you partner, build, or buy, this is important. But when you're partnering, especially because it feels like transactional, you'll receive a bill probably for whatever your programming is, et cetera, and that makes sense. When you partner, to build trust, it's that you show up in their community as well. It's not just have an event and be distant. It's show up, answer questions, be a trusted community person, right? It's doing multiple events, not just one. It's not just blasting emails per se. And that's important. And the best SaaS companies are partnering with multiple communities, okay? And they're partnering for long terms with multiple communities. Is RevGenius the best? RevGenius is awesome. We're solving a big need. For you and your SaaS company, is RevGenius. RevGenius is part of the equation. Absolutely. Our community members might also be in other communities. I bet everybody watching here is in more than one community, right? And you go to some for some and some for others, and you build trust different ways. I'm in myself, field marketer, entrepreneur, multiple SaaS related communities, etc. And seeing the companies in multiple help me build trust. It really does. It really does. So partnering is big. I spent a lot of time on here because this is where we do. A few words, a lot of talk. You could buy a community. If your company has $10 million in the bank, you could buy a community. Okay. And you know what? Communities aren't this expensive always. You could buy a community probably for 50, 100, 200, 6 figures in money. HubSpot purchased The Hustle. Business Insider purchased a controlling stake in Morning Brew. Microsoft acquired GitHub for $7.5 billion. That was something massive. Stripe acquired Indie Hackers. Outreach acquires Sales Hacker. A lot of y'all that probably resonates with, right? Bevy acquired CMX. WeWork acquired Flatiron School. This has helped those companies. It's a quick way. It's not quick it's not as quick as partnerships, but this is big. And if you have the resources to do this and you find a community aligned, this is a spectacular option. And what you'll notice here, and what I'll talk in the next slide with Build, is communities come in multiple forms. They don't need to be a Slack group. A lot are today. They don't need to be Discord. They could be discourse. They could be on your site. And they could be a newsletter. Look, the first two here are newsletters. And you know what's cool? I haven't unsubscribed from either myself. Like, I might not be as involved, but I'm getting it every day. So you could buy. And the pros are pretty fast. Have whatever, you know exactly what you're getting and all of that. The cons are, might be hard to integrate super easily. Like, I'm walking around Indie Hackers and figuring out the Stripe connection. I don't know if it makes me more or less likely to use Stripe, but I think they actually did a pretty good job. And also you have to be careful. We're talking about building trust, right? You have to be careful that you don't acquire it and then just start selling people your product. Don't do that. Trust is big in community. And you can build a newsletter. Just start a newsletter. Everybody does this. Not a newsletter with your product. If you're an awesome technology like AirMeet, who one of the sponsors throwing on this event, send a newsletter about how to throw virtual events, how to throw hybrid events, right? And help people with the challenges that they have. And also, don't be afraid to let them help each other. And that's the secret sauce part, right? So you have an on-site help form. A community can be that simple. It can be Zendesk or something where people are talking back and forth. You can build something custom. Obviously, most people want to use a third-party tool, and I'll give you a quick tidbit on how to build something fast. But I think the biggest takeaway with whatever you build, if you could create an environment where your prospects, members, audience can communicate with one another, there's a benefit there for you facilitating that. There's a listening benefit for you understanding what they actually want. And we go back to the first slide. We're talking retention. We're talking all that. We're talking connecting with the human. If you have a product that's not hitting, you want to understand why they're using a competitor. You want to understand because that's going to make your product better, right? That's going to be easier for you to market to them, right? Like, if your product's meeting their needs, I don't care how good of a marketer you are. If the product is not connecting with the user, there will come an end to that. Like, it's a flash in the pan and it'll drop off a cliff. If the car doesn't get from point A to B, you can be the best marketer in the world and get all these people in it. It's just a matter of when it's going to stop working, not if. So hearing that, don't be afraid to hear that feedback. And in fact, you could put the good juju in your marketing. If you're working and with a CRM or we could use any tool that's a sponsor of this wonderful conference, and you allow people to talk to each other, and you find out they love your tool, but they love connecting it with Segment on site. They love connecting it with Typeform. They love connecting it with ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, HubSpot. Hell yeah. Yes. And if they're connecting it via Zapier, right? Guess what? You have your partnership path picked. Hey, HubSpot. People are connecting us via Zapier. They should connect us directly, right? And now all of a sudden, marketers, you're using HubSpot. You can target for that. Hey, did you know that product A now integrates with HubSpot? Because you're listening to your community who's saying like these recipes, like it's spectacular. And then what happens? We get that up to the right that we all want, right? So you could build it. And I struggle. So before I go into here, what's best? Oh, as much as possible, in my opinion. But do what's within your means, right? RevGenius is a team of 4. If we weren't a team of 4 focused on building community, like if we wanted to build a product now, and I was watching a conference and said, build a product or partner with a product or whatever, we couldn't do it. We couldn't build it. Like we don't have the resources. We'd have to scope and all that, and it would take a lot of time. Now, if you do have the resources, if you have 5, 10, 15 marketing managers and you have enough money to hire a community manager, do it. I think it's important that with the build function, the person or group of people managing it are doing just that. Okay. Don't toss community onto a marketing manager. A marketing manager can manage a community, but they can't manage a community with the rest of their job. Don't toss it onto a field marketer. Hire a new field marketer. Is that the right profile? It could be the right person. My good friend Nick Bennett, who spoke here, is the perfect example of somebody that can do it. And I'll put him on a pedestal as the day is long. He can do it. Other field marketers can't. They can't. It's a case by case, and it's a secret sauce, right? And in fact, he is doing it. He's doing it with his ABM group that I hope many of you are in. Plug Nick Bennett. But so building, dedicate resources and time to, if you're going to build. Partner, you just need to have, dedicate the time and resources to that as well. If you just partner and let them do everything and you don't have involvement in the community, it's not going to be as effective. There's going to be a level of effectiveness there, but you might as well do paid advertising. If that's your result, you can control it. You can figure out what your ROAS is, all that jazz, right? But and then buying, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. But again, you need to have a plan there. Partnering is the easiest. Now, when done well, these communities add significant value to the product experience, right? I just spoke about that. This helps with, as I said before, customer acquisition, retention, account expansion, and it's a powerful way to grow your business. So with the last 10 minutes, thank you for listening to me. This should say questions. It says community. That's just the way I roll. Did anything come up? And hey, Jugal, get breakout. Awesome.
Yes, so we have one question that I'll put on stage.
Please.
There you go.
Awesome question. What's the ideal ratio of content creators versus members? So when you say content creators, let me expound. Do you mean members creating content or your team creating content for them? Because I'll go both directions with that. I think the ideal scenario is that the community, because this is ideal ratio, let's talk ideal scenario, is that the community is creating the content itself. User-generated content is the secret sauce, says Facebook, says LinkedIn, says Twitter, says Clubhouse, says enter billion-dollar social media platform, user-generated content. If you're creating content for them, I hope you're listening to them, right? Because if you're not listening, you're just creating content for SEO. You're putting more noise into this. And yo, like when we go for RevGenius 2.0, the evolution of what we're creating, We want to create an open, inclusive space, but we also want to help you learn more, hit your goals. There's nothing out there that's doing that today. So how can we do that? We have to listen. We have to allow you to put things in. We have to have a community of people that moderate, support one another. If you have somebody at the head doing everything, you have an audience. You're an expert going down. You have an audience, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you don't have a community. If you take that head away, you take the content creators away that company A has, B has, C has, you have nothing. You take me away from RevGenius. Let's go on LinkedIn. There's 1,500 people that say RevGenius on their profile, right? You still have RevGenius. I promise. I promise. You still have a friend because I'm going to always be a part of it. But like, you get. Hopefully that answers your question, Jugal. Was that cool? Where should one start for someone with no experience in community-led growth? What's the best? I like this. What's the best listening monitoring tool you recommend? All right, let's go through some of these. So I see. What's the best social listening? Now we have people talking, Gotham. This is great. Do you want to read what it's coming in? So let's okay, so where should one start for someone with no experience in community-led growth? So that's kind of like a loaded, seeing that it's from a co-founder, Hardik. You want to build a community. Where should someone go with no experience? Join communities. Join as many communities as you can and learn yourself. That's my answer. Before starting RevGenius, I was a part of other communities. It's helped me. I've built audiences in the past for magazines and stuff. So go places where you could be a member and figure out what's missing. And if you don't know communities, go to LinkedIn and be more active there. You'll be able to figure it out in no time. And I'm available to connect as well. Now, what is the best social listening monitoring tool you recommend? My answer to that is your ears. Talk to people. So there's a couple ways to answer this question. In all fairness, Jay, you want to constantly talk to people. Use Typeform SurveyMonkey to listen to people like that, like surveys. Actually having one-to-one meetings, and I know that's not scalable, but if you have it with 30 people, 50 people, 10 people, there's gonna be some commonalities. Before we decide on our evolution of our product that's yet to be launched, we had meetings probably with 30 to 50 people face to face, in addition to like just digesting what we hear going around the community, right? Like, which is probably a point here, like, oh, it's too fast, it's too slow, whatever. Now, from a listening tool for Slack, there's tools out there, and we could talk offline where you could just see like who was engaged 30 days ago and they're not engaged now, certainly, and take action on them. I'm of the frame of mind that you need to know that data, but not necessarily use tools to take action if it's automated. You want the experience to be as human as possible. So you want tools that could find, and there's tools like ComSor, which is great for communities. You can build a data pipeline like we've done ourselves, taking feedback from everywhere. You want to create a tool, if you're looking at scale, in addition to the surveys, where you could see probably the engagement and the showing up of your members, and then determine how you want to take action on that. Now, while creating a community, and Bujarajan, co-founder and CEO of Bloombirds, and I'm going to put my LinkedIn in the comments because I want to connect with you all. This is great. That's hard.
Great. So, Jared, this will be the last question for the session.
Okay. Yeah. Sweet. Last question. This is great. And by the way, I'm down with doing an AMA on LinkedIn or something following. I don't even know if I have the time. I have 12 meetings today, but but the point is, you make the time for your community, okay? And you make the time for people to come in. And so while creating a community with users and partners, especially we're in an early stage and have improvements, you want to be a risk of potential negative influence. What's the right time of the product maturity for creating an open community? This is an awesome question. So if you're there's a couple different stages to answer this. Like if you want to create a community of beta users to figure out how to get to the product, do that. Throw all your beta users in Slack and have them talk to each other. Now, the idea of an open community. If the product is open, in my opinion, you could have an open community. And one of the quickest ways to start with a small community and go out, and I didn't say at the slide, and I got this inspiration starting from a marketing agency I worked with. What they did was, and I put 2 and 2 together to like build it into a community. We didn't there, but I'm giving you this idea. They had, let's say, 20 clients for the agency. And you might have 20 clients for your SaaS product, or 50, or 10, or 100, right? Like if it's early stage, let's say it's 10 or 5. They put each client into a Slack together, and they gave a private channel to each. And they used that for customer success. I said, how to talk fast. Now, my idea adding on to that and slowly rolling out a community, which I think is probably relevant to this question, is what if you just had like 2 general channels with just your clients? One, where you talk about updates that the product has, obviously, and stuff around the space that you control and that you put the content in. And the other, where you let them talking to each other, right? Like you're using HubSpot or Salesforce, like they're saying like how they stack it, and like whatever your product is part of the stack, but then you listen to what else is there. And then you ask them to put feedback as to what they're doing, how they're using your product, and help other users of your product or other clients learn how to use the product more effectively, right? Like if you have a product like AirMeet and you don't know about some of the functionality or how really to leverage it, right? Like you're like, oh, I use AirMeet just for my webinars. And then you have an open thing saying, whoa, well, we have one-to-one matching for all new member onboarding. What? Wait, I saw the one-to-one matching, but you're using it for new client onboarding? Is that like, oh no, we've found it great. And then from there, the people that show up, we're putting in a newsletter cadence because we find them more active users. Oh my God, I got more active users? I'm going towards the Holy Grail. So like, where you wouldn't get that if you just go to airmeet.com, right? You get the phenomenal functionality, but you don't get like how people are using and hacking, and like, and you don't even get it from necessarily the AirMeet sales rep. They're saying, oh, you could do one-to-one, and you're like, cool. But then you find use cases of where that one-to-one really worked. And that's the good stuff. That's a secret sauce. And that's when people tell their friends about not just AirMeet, but how to use it. So then when the sales rep comes on, now they're getting stories, and now they're using those stories elsewhere, and everybody's going up. We're at 11 o'clock. I hope that was helpful. My time is done. You don't have to go home, but you have to get the heck out of here and go to some of the other sessions. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Thanks again, Jared. It was an amazing session. So we have one last session, so stay back and join us for that. Thank you again. Have a good day.